Let me ask you something. What are you waiting for? Seriously, what the hell are you waiting for? You think you have time? You think tomorrow is guaranteed? You think one day you'll just wake up and everything will be right? Let me give you the truth. Time doesn't wait for you. Time doesn't care if you're tired. Time doesn't care if you're afraid. Time doesn't care if you're figuring it out. Every second you hesitate, every day you procrastinate, every dream you shelf for later, you're trading your life for it. You're literally giving away your future for what? Comfort, distraction, excuses. Let me hit you with something real. There are people out there with less talent than you, less time than you, less support than you, and they're still winning, not because it's easier for them, but because they decided to stop playing small. You want a better life? Stop treating time like it's unlimited. You're not going to live forever. You don't get to rewind the clock. There is no someday. There is only now. You want to be great? Then show up like your life depends on it, because it does. You want love, freedom, health, impact? Then stop wishing and start doing. Burn the damn excuses. Wake up earlier. Say no to distractions. Start the business. Have the conversation. Chase the dream with everything in your soul. Because here's the raw truth. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. You want a better life? Stop treating time like it's unlimited. You're not going to live forever. You don't get to rewind the clock. There is no someday, there is only now. You want to be great? Then show up like your life depends on it. Because it does. You want love, freedom, health, impact? Then stop wishing and start doing. Burn the damn excuses. Wake up earlier. Say no to distractions. Start the business. Have the conversation. Chase the dream with everything in your soul. Because here's the raw truth. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. You do not want to look back 10 years from now and realize you played it safe, that you let fear win, that you stayed in a life that didn't set your soul on fire, all because you thought you had more time. You don't. Time is running out. So what are you going to do? Let this moment pass, or are you going to grab your life by the throat and say, this is my time, this is my turn, and I'm not wasting another damn second. You've got one shot at this thing. Make it count, live fully, love apply, act boldly. Time is running out. But if you move now, if you commit now, if you rise now, then maybe, just maybe, you'll look back one day and smile, knowing you left nothing on the table. Let's go. You think time is on your side, but let me hit you with the truth. It's not. Time is not your friend. Time is not something you can control or manage. Time is a force. It's moving forward, whether you're ready or not. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait for your plans. And it sure as hell doesn't slow down when you're unsure, confused, or scared. Every second is a second you will never get back. Right now, this very moment, it's gone. That second you just used to read this, it's over. Done. Locked away in the past. You can't rewind it and you can't replace it. And yet, we live like we've got forever. We keep pushing things to tomorrow. We say, I'll start when I'm ready. We wait for the right time, the perfect setup, the moment when everything aligns. That moment doesn't exist. Waiting for it is just a clever way to avoid doing the hard thing now. You think you'll have more energy next week? More clarity next month? More courage next year? No, you won't. What you'll have is more regret, more frustration, more missed chances. Because time doesn't pause while you procrastinate. It doesn't care that you're tired or busy or still healing. It just keeps moving. Look at your life right now. Where are you playing small? What dream have you put on the shelf for later? What goal have you been talking about but not acting on? Be honest. If nothing changes, where will you be in 5 years? 10? Still stuck in the same patterns, the same routines, the same doubts? Time is not the problem. Your relationship with time is the problem. You treat it like it's infinite. It's not. You treat it like it's free. It's not. Time is the most valuable currency you have. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose possessions and replace them, but once you lose time, it's gone forever. The world doesn't owe you more time. You don't get extra hours because your dream is big. You don't get more days because your heart is in the right place. You get the same 24 hours as every other person breathing on this planet. The difference between people who thrive and people who struggle isn't talent, luck, or opportunity. It's urgency. It's the ability to say, I don't have time to waste, and then back that up with massive action. It's waking up with fire and deciding to stop living like tomorrow is promised. Stop hitting snooze on your life. Stop thinking you can coast your way into greatness. You can't. You've got to run at your future like it's sprinting away from you, because it is. Every minute that passes is a minute closer to the end of your story. And you don't get to know how many pages are left. That should scare you, not because life is short, but because it's fragile, because it's uncertain, because the opportunity you have now may not be there tomorrow. You think you'll always be able to bounce back, but what if the window closes? What if the chance disappears? What if the person you need to become is being silenced by the comfort of delay? You were not born to drift. You were not put here to wait. You were made to move, to build, to create, to lead. But you can't do any of that if you keep waiting for the perfect moment. You've got to get uncomfortable. You've got to make decisions that feel hard. You've got to start before you're ready, speak before you're confident, act before you're certain. That's how momentum is built. That's how transformation begins. You don't get it by sitting and thinking. You get it by moving forward right now with everything you've got. There are people who would give anything to have the time you're wasting. People whose clocks are running out faster than yours. People who don't get a next week or a next year. And here you are, holding back, playing it safe, letting another day slip through your fingers like it doesn't matter. It does. It matters more than you know. Every day you delay is a day you can never live again. Every minute you let fear decide your pace is a minute you could have spent building something real. Time doesn't care if you're scared. It just keeps ticking. Comfort is seductive. It whispers in your ear and tells you that you're doing fine, that you don't need to push harder, that where you are is good enough. It convinces you that you've earned a break, that you can start later, that it's okay to wait. But comfort is a liar. It's the silent killer of dreams. It doesn't destroy you all at once. It does it slowly, day by day, decision by decision, as you choose the easy way instead of the right way. And the worst part, you don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. Excuses are comfort's bodyguards. They protect your ego. They let you stay the same while pretending you're growing. I don't have time. I'm not ready. I don't know where to start. Those aren't reasons. They're escape routes, convenient justifications to avoid discomfort, to avoid failure, to avoid facing the fact that greatness comes with a cost. And that cost is effort. People say they want success, but the moment it gets hard, the moment it requires sacrifice, they retreat to comfort. They pull back. They lower their standards. They settle. And then they wonder why they're still stuck. Look around at the people who are truly thriving, the ones building, growing, winning. They didn't get there by choosing what was easy. They chose what was necessary. They walked into discomfort on purpose. They faced rejection, discipline, long hours, uncertainty, and they kept going because they understood something most people don't. Comfort zones are invisible prisons. They don't look like danger, but they trap you just the same. They lock you into the familiar, and the familiar kills growth. You can't grow and stay comfortable. Those two things are incompatible. Growth demands struggle. It requires risk. It pulls you into spaces where you feel awkward, where you fail, where you're not the best in the room. That's where the real transformation happens. Not in the moments where it's easy, but in the moments where you want to quit and choose not to. That's when the shift occurs. That's when the average becomes exceptional. But you can't get there with excuses. You can't build your dream while protecting your feelings. You can't change your life while trying to stay comfortable at the same time. Excuses give you permission to delay. They make the unacceptable feel acceptable. You skip the workout and say you're tired. You avoid the tough conversation and say it's not the right time. You hold back from launching the business and say you're still researching. But underneath every excuse is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. And rather than face that fear, you wrap it in logic and call it a plan. But it's not a plan. It's avoidance. And that avoidance is costing you everything. You can lie to everyone else, but you can't lie to yourself. Deep down, you know when you're making excuses. You know when you're capable of more. You feel it. It keeps you up at night. It gnaws at you in quiet moments. Because the truth is, part of you is tired of playing small. Part of you is done pretending that average is acceptable. But until you stop negotiating with your limitations, nothing changes. Until you stop giving in to comfort and calling it self-care, you'll keep recycling the same results. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it steals your future. It gives you relief now and regret later. You think it's protecting you, but it's robbing you. Robbing you of growth, of strength, of confidence. You don't get stronger by doing what's easy. You don't become disciplined by giving yourself an out every time it gets tough. You don't become unstoppable by choosing comfort over courage. You've got to choose differently. You've got to decide that your goals are more important than your excuses. That your potential matters more than your comfort. That the pain of growth is worth it because the pain of staying the same is worse. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce a belief that you can't handle more. And that belief becomes your identity. If you keep telling yourself you're tired, that you're not ready, that you'll do it tomorrow, eventually you'll start to believe it. And once you believe it, you live it. Not because it's true, but because you made it true. You programmed your life to serve your limitations instead of your vision. Regret is the heaviest weight you'll ever carry. It doesn't hit all at once, it creeps in slowly. It shows up in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts. It echoes in your mind as you replay the decisions you didn't make, the chances you didn't take, the dreams you let slip because fear had a louder voice than your vision. You tell yourself you'll be fine, that there's still time, but deep down, something aches. Not because you failed, but because you didn't try. Not because you lost, but because you never stepped into the ring. Discipline, on the other hand, is hard, but it's temporary. It demands sacrifice. It asks for your energy, your focus, your commitment. It doesn't care if you're in the mood. Discipline says, show up anyway. And in the moment, it feels like a burden. Waking up early when your body wants more sleep, putting in extra work. When everyone else is relaxing, saying no to things that feel good but lead nowhere, that's uncomfortable, but that discomfort passes. It fades. It gets replaced with strength, with momentum, with pride. Discipline costs you in the short term, but it gives you back your future. Regret doesn't fade. It lingers. It sits in the back of your mind and waits. It resurfaces when you're watching others succeed and you remember that you had that same idea years ago. It shows up when you see someone doing what you love and realize you let your dream expire. Regret reminds you of the time you wasted, the energy you spent chasing distractions, the opportunities you ignored because you were waiting to feel ready. And when it hits, you don't just feel bad, you feel stuck. You feel like time cheated you when really you just didn't respect it enough to act. People avoid discipline because it's hard. They think it's punishment. But the truth is, discipline is a gift. It's the path to freedom. It gives you control. It gives you options. It sharpens your mind, your body, your focus. It builds habits that serve you when motivation disappears. The more you train yourself to do the hard things, the more capable you become. And the more capable you become, the smaller your excuses look. You stop waiting for life to hand you what you want and start building it with your own two hands. You don't get that from comfort. You don't get that from wishful thinking. You get that from showing up consistently, even when it sucks. Especially when it sucks. Because those moments when you push through, when no one's watching, when no one's cheering, when quitting would be easy, those are the moments that forge your character. Those are the moments that separate the talkers from the doers. Those are the moments that ensure you'll never be haunted by the question, what if? The truth is, the pain of discipline is honest. It tells you exactly what it's going to cost. It demands effort, it demands focus, and it demands time. But it gives you results. It gives you confidence. It builds a version of you that doesn't flinch when life throws punches. Regret, on the other hand, is dishonest. It pretends everything is fine until one day everything hits you. It makes you look back with clarity you didn't have in the moment. And that clarity hurts more than any workout, more than any early morning, more than any sacrifice you avoided. You're not avoiding pain by skipping discipline. You're just choosing a different kind of pain. The slow, invisible, soul-crushing kind. The pain of knowing you could have done more. The pain of watching someone else live your dream because they were willing to do what you weren't. The pain of realizing that potential means nothing if you don't act on it. That hurts more than any challenge. That stays with you. That shapes how you see yourself. It takes root in your identity and makes you question everything you are. People think discipline is restrictive, that it limits freedom, but it's the opposite. Discipline is what creates freedom. When you do the work today, you get to live without guilt tomorrow. When you stay consistent now, you build a life with options. You earn your choices. You earn your self-respect. Discipline gives you results, and those results create confidence. Not the fake kind that comes from hype, but the real kind that comes from knowing you showed up, even when it was hard. Regret is a result too, but it's the result of inaction, of hiding, of choosing ease over purpose. It doesn't empower you. It doesn't strengthen you. It weakens your spirit. It steals from your future. It leaves you wondering what could have been instead of standing in what is. And once it settles in, no amount of distraction can silence it. It follows you. It shows up in the mirror. It shows up in your relationships. It shows up in the way you walk through the world. Half present, half wishing. There is no someday. It's one of the most dangerous words in the human language. Someday is the illusion we cling to when we're afraid to act today. It gives us comfort. It lets us off the hook. It makes it okay to delay, to wait, to tell ourselves that the time just isn't right. But the truth is, someday doesn't exist. There's no date on the calendar marked someday. There's no alarm that's going to ring and suddenly tell you everything's aligned, that now you can finally start. It's a story you've been telling yourself to avoid the discomfort of right now. People don't lose to failure, they lose to hesitation. They sit on ideas. They put off conversations. They delay taking care of their health, their goals, their relationships, because they believe they have time. They think that if they just wait a little longer, they'll feel more ready, more confident, more certain. But readiness doesn't come from waiting. Confidence doesn't come from thinking. They come from doing. They come from stepping forward in the face of uncertainty, not in the absence of it. Every time you wait for someday, you're building the habit of hesitation. And hesitation becomes your default setting. The world doesn't wait. Life keeps moving. People are out there acting on their dreams while you're still making plans. There are no guarantees that the door you're looking at today will still be open tomorrow. Life is a moving target, and if you're not moving with it, you're falling behind. The clock isn't stopping. The years aren't pausing until you're ready. You can sit in the same place for months or years and convince yourself that you're being smart, being cautious, being strategic, but really, you're stuck. And someday becomes the excuse you use to justify staying stuck. There's always going to be a reason to wait. Always something that feels incomplete. Always a risk. Always a fear. But waiting for the perfect moment is like waiting for a wave that never comes. At some point, you've got to paddle out and start catching what's already there. People spend years preparing and never launch. They read every book, take every course, listen to every podcast, and still don't move. Because deep down, it's not about needing more information, it's about avoiding the discomfort of execution. Planning feels productive, but execution is what creates results. You get one shot at this life, and every day you push things to someday, you're trading a piece of that shot for the illusion of safety. The truth is, safety doesn't come from standing still. It comes from building strength, from developing resilience, from taking action even when it's hard. You can't develop any of that while sitting on the sidelines. You develop it in motion. By showing up, by falling down, by learning in real time, not just in your head. You can't think your way to success. You act your way into it. Step by step, decision by decision. The mindset of someday is a lie disguised as logic. It tells you to wait for more time, more clarity, more money, more support. But more doesn't always come. Sometimes less comes. Less opportunity, less energy, less freedom. What you have now might be more than you'll ever have again. And if you don't use it, you lose it. That's the reality no one wants to say out loud. That the doors you're afraid to walk through might not be there when you finally build the courage. That the people you want to love better might not be around when you finally decide to express it. You don't need a better time, you need a better standard. A higher demand on yourself, a decision that your future matters enough to fight for it now, not later. You have to stop outsourcing your action to a day that doesn't exist. You have to stop waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. You don't need lightning, you need movement. Action creates clarity, progress creates purpose. The moment you act, even in a small way, everything changes. You begin to shift from hoping to creating, from drifting to driving. The people who change their lives aren't the ones who waited for permission, they're the ones who made a decision. Right in the middle of the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty. They didn't feel ready, they just refused to keep waiting. That's the difference. It's not about having more, it's about choosing more. More courage, more urgency, more ownership. You don't need more time, you need more intention. The decision to act now is what separates the ones who live with purpose from the ones who live with regret. No one's coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you want. It's not luck and it's not fate, it's ownership. Full, brutal, relentless ownership. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you demand. And not just with your words, but with your actions. Every single day, you're either building your dream or betraying it. You're either rising to your standard or falling to your excuses. Now, this is what you're in for today. The more you rise, the more you fall. Life responds to boldness, not hesitation. If you want change, if you want progress, if you want a different reality, you've got to show up like it's up to you, because it is. There's no more time to be passive, no more waiting for signs, no more sitting around hoping the stars align. It's on you. That fire you're waiting for, it's not coming from the outside. It has to come from within. You have to decide right now that this is it. That the old way of living, the half-hearted effort, the wishful thinking, it ends here. From this moment forward, you move different. You talk different. You think different. Because you've made the choice to own everything in your life. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the brutal. Nothing changes until you change. The people who build powerful lives, they're not lucky. They're not special. They're committed. They're intentional. They don't dabble. They don't wait for motivation. They act with urgency because they understand what's at stake. They don't have time to waste on excuses, on distractions, on other people's opinions. They know every second is a vote for the future they're building. And they cast their votes wisely. They wake up with purpose. They don't hope it works. They work until it does. They don't wait for the right moment. They create it. That's the mindset that builds legacies. That's the mindset that changes everything. When you own your life, you stop playing the victim. You stop blaming the past, the circumstances, the people who didn't show up for you. You stop pointing fingers and start pointing forward. What happened to you may not be your fault, but what you do next is always your responsibility. That's the difference between staying stuck and moving forward. Ownership isn't about shame. It's about power. It's the decision to say, this is mine, this is my life, and I'm not giving my control away anymore. That's where your power lives, in the decision to stop waiting and start creating. Urgency doesn't mean panic, it means presence. It means understanding that time is not promised and potential doesn't wait. You don't get to choose how much time you have, but you do get to choose how you use it. You get to decide whether today is just another blur of routine or a step forward in the life you're building. Most people drift. They live by default, not design. They wake up and let the day control them. But the ones who rise, the ones who lead, the ones who leave impact, they take control. They bring energy, intensity, clarity. They don't ask for permission. They declare their direction and move. It's not about being perfect. It's about being accountable. It's about showing up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It's about choosing action over comfort, growth over ease, commitment over convenience. Every time you decide to go all in, to give more than you thought you had, you reinforce the identity of someone who doesn't quit, someone who doesn't wait, someone who doesn't hide. And that identity, that's what builds the life you want. Not the goal on the vision board, not the plan in your journal, the identity. The version of you that refuses to settle. Stop asking, what if it doesn't work? Start asking, what if I never try? Stop waiting for clarity. Move, and clarity will meet you in motion. Stop waiting for someone to notice your potential. Show them what happens when it's unleashed. You don't need a spotlight, you need to be on fire. Because when you move with urgency, when you own your path, people feel it. They see it in your eyes, in your energy, in the way you show up, and they start moving differently too. That's how change spreads. Not by preaching, but by leading. You were not meant to coast. You were not built to survive. You were built to rise, to stretch, to break limits. But it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by decision, by resolve, by fire. You want freedom? Earn it. You want confidence? Build it. You want impact? Create it. No one else can want it for you. No one else can walk the path. It's on you, your choices, your habits, your standards, your urgency. When you decide to own it all, you become unstoppable. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger.